Hi, kia ora, and welcome to Creative Connections, where we have beautiful, inspiring conversations with artists living in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm your host, Mandy Jakic. Alexandra Tylee is a painter living in Poukawa in the Hawke's Bay. From her early 20s until her early 40s, Alexandra set up and ran two successful businesses, which you might have heard of, Fuel Espresso in Wellington and Pipi Cafe in Havelock North. She has also written 3 cookbooks and an award-winning children's fiction book called If I Was a Banana. Alexandra started painting again around 5 years ago. Selling Pipi Cafe in 2023 allowed her to devote herself more to her painting practice, and since then she has had 2 sell-out exhibitions at Muse Galley in Havelock North. In this episode, we talk about her passion for cooking and how it intertwines and connects with her love of painting, expressing feelings, memories, stories, and the still life paintings she likes to paint. We discuss how she sees running a business as a creative outlet and her approach to working in hospitality, how she feels now she's sold her business and has finally got time to devote to her paintings, and the painting lessons she had with New Zealand artist Helen Kerridge and why that felt important for her to do. Alexandra shares how she chooses the objects for her still life works, what they mean to her and what they communicate, the way she sets up a composition that reflects the way she sees things, how she combines different elements and objects in her own unique way, and how her paintings create stillness. We also talk about the 4 books she has written and her love of writing, despite being dyslexic. I've included a really gorgeous video of Alexandra reading her children's book at the bottom of her blog post. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed talking to Alexandra. Morena, Alexandra.
Hi.
It's lovely to meet you.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah, so great. You've got a beautiful still life painting right behind you, which almost molded itself into the objects in front, which aren't actually part of the painting.
Yeah,
which was quite interesting. So, it's really great to meet you. We do have one mutual friend who has been talking to me about talking to you for quite some time. So it's lovely to finally meet you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's great to be here.
Thank you. So you are in Poukawa, which is near Havelock North. Can you tell us a little bit about that area or that part of New Zealand and what you love about it?
Yeah, sure. It's so it's just a little farming community that it's just past the Peka wetlands, and you just sort of turn in. We've got a school and a hall, so it's a typical sort of New Zealand farm. Paul Holmes lived just down the road, so there's a lot of people know it from that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's lovely. It's even though it's close to town, it's still very rural. It feels like you're in the country. That I wake up and the farmer's yelling at his dogs, or the sheep trucks are going past it. I grew up on a farm, so yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it feels rural. Yeah. That would be nice. Yeah. So you did grow up in the middle of the Hawke's Bay, so you're in the area where you first started.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing and what you were like as a child?
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew up about an hour from here at a little district called Wellington, which is about 20 minutes out of Waipukurau. And I was one of 4 children, and my father loved gardening, so we had a really beautiful sort of old-fashioned garden, and it was pretty idyllic, I suppose. We just I've got lovely memories of, well, just like a lot of New Zealanders have, I suppose, growing up in the country, just the making the hay and being up, at night, and all the things you do on a farm. But it was very, I think it instilled in me just the beauty of it. I just remember always being amazed at certain flowers, that just that they came back, the cycle of it. They'd come back every year, and I used to go for runs on the farm most days, and it was just, my father was obsessed with having a very tidy farm, and the community too, I guess. We, like farming districts do, there's a strong sense of community, that, tennis parties and horse riding, and obviously it wasn't, I'm making it sound probably, there were bad parts, but it was, it from the perspective of the art, I think it just, that sense. My parents both had a strong design sense. They loved old antiques and fabric. My mother imported Liberty lawn fabric. They'd always had new smocks and, the old-fashioned smocked dresses. And, her grandmother, they'd always done that. And so we always had new, Liberty dresses, and they're amazing, the fabric, the colours. And she actually had a little cottage in the garden where she made things out of the Liberty night dresses and things. So.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And were you discovering your own personal creativity, do you think, as a child?
Yeah, I painted or drew a lot when I was a child. Yeah, I went away to boarding school, but before that, we had a great primary school teacher, and he really encouraged that. And I drew and painted a lot when I was a child.
Isn't that amazing, the influence of a teacher and how far that can take you? Just that one time, that one connection with somebody who encourages you creatively can change your whole path in a way.
Yeah, no, I was really lucky, because he also gave us a great sense of taught us how to study, and to like learning. And I'm also dyslexic, so it was amazing that he just sort of encouraged me. I never let that stop me doing anything, and I think that's because I had that really strong grounding, and that he found what I was good at and encouraged it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yay for teachers.
Yeah.
So, in high school, how did you go? Were you starting to think, okay, this is my natural talent. I'm going to make something of this, and were you thinking of it as a possible career?
Well, no. It was a bit I went to boarding school, and I don't know if it was that I didn't get on. Well, I didn't get on. My career at high school was a little bit up and down. I didn't really like boarding, I suppose. I was quite homesick. No, in fact, my art teacher told me I did school C art, but then she told me I wasn't good enough to do UE art.
Really?
Yeah. And I know. I was kind of, it was odd. Looking back on it, it was such a strange thing to say.
It is a strange thing. I don't think anyone, I'd like to think teachers wouldn't say that now, or wouldn't be able to say that now.
Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't.
No.
I got in a lot of trouble at school. So I and I sort of was almost, I had to leave, really. So I think it was all mixed in with that. So boarding schools were a bit strange in those days. We were sort of locked up, and we weren't allowed home as often, and they wanted us all to be the same.
Yeah.
And I just didn't fit the mold, which lots of us didn't. It was quite a gang of us that didn't. The school is very different now. I've dealt with those demons, I think.
Yeah, that's good. You've moved on.
Yeah.
So, that is kind of interesting, isn't it? That you were sort of you were encouraged on that path and then you were sort of discouraged or encouraged off it at some
Yeah,
point. So, I know that you have had an incredible career in cooking
yeah.
and business.
Uh,
So, how did you get to that point of creating your own restaurants and that kind of thing? Did you actually go off and study, or how did that all start? And I think it's really good for us to talk a little bit about your amazing career. I think it does really relate to your art
oh
practice.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely.
Yeah. So, can you talk to us a little bit about that part of your journey?
Yeah. Well, I went to university and I started at Vic and then transferred to Otago because I wanted to get involved in the student newspaper. At that point, I thought I was going to be a writer. I really enjoyed writing, and I did. I co-edited the critic, the university newspaper, with some others. But I studied philosophy and classical studies. Yeah, there, and then quite soon after that, I've been married 3 times, and we did the OE, like so many people, New Zealanders do, and that was amazing. We spent a lot. We lived in London, but we travelled a lot to Europe, France, and Italy, and I had an uncle, Charles, who my father's brother, who lived in London, and he was an artist, and he would take us. Well, he took us. We stayed with him in Florence, and he took us around all the galleries and churches, and yeah. So we lived there for a while. Then we came back, and that's when I had my first son. I've got 4 sons. Yeah, so I split up with my first husband, and then I was living in Wellington. So I thought, well, I just had this idea that I had to have a career. I think I'd always, like, art had always been in the background. I've got a great aunt, Marion, who was an amazing artist. She studied at the Slade in London and in Paris, and we always were surrounded. She painted still lifes, and so we've always been surrounded by her art. And um, yeah, but I still wanted a career, so I thought I'd study law. So I went back as an adult student to Vic, and I did legal systems and criminal law in the first year. And that was, but then I met Sanjay, my second husband, and he had just started a coffee business in Wellington. And so this was in the mid-90s, 1990s.
Yeah.
And that's when coffee was just getting going. It was, and he had built like an Airstream, a stainless steel cart, which was on the terrace in Wellington. And I started helping him, and yeah, it was amazing. It was really interesting seeing. So it was all his branding, and which was very different to my aesthetic. It was all sort of, he'd worked in New York and jazz bars and things, and it was all sort of dark wood and jazz. We only played jazz, and it was really interesting for me to sort of see how the strengths of a brand, and to learn all about that, and business with that. So we and yeah, it was a really exciting time for coffee because people were just starting to drink espresso coffee, and they'd never had a latte before, and they just couldn't believe the creamy milk. It sounds silly now because it's just such a part of our lives, but
Yeah.
so people weren't taking coffee away. It was all just having it in cafes. So we were just starting that. So we built Fuel up till we had nine espresso bars, and we were roasting coffee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a big business.
Yeah. No, it was that. Yeah. And during that time we had a son, Zeus, who he died. He lived for 3 months. He had died of cot death, which is hard.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's tragic.
Yeah. yeah, it's sort of yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that would have obviously a huge impact, and I imagine it's sort of something that's influenced your entire life.
Yeah, yeah, it has. But I think I've been really lucky in that I fit with so Sanjay and I split up quite soon after that, and then I ended up going to Sydney, and I took over the cafe in the Berkelo bookshop on Paddington Street in Oxford. And when I was trying to think of a name for it, I'd always been just amazed that, sometimes on fuel, on the espresso in the morning, or anytime really, the moments that can happen, and, just when everything sort of just feels right, like the music and I don't know, it's just, and I wanted to find a word for my new cafe that expressed that. And I was flicking through one of Annabelle Langbine's, I think, cookbooks, and I just saw the name Pipi. And for me, that just reminded me of a morning when Sanjay and Zeus and I had been staying at the beach at Flat Point in the Wairarapa, and I'd looked up and seen Zeus, and then I'd looked down and the beach was covered in pippies.
Oh, wow.
So that's how Pippi got her name.
Yeah. And that was celebrating or sort of acknowledging a moment in a way for you,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is so nice. And it feels like a lot of your art now is like that. It's
Yeah.
celebrating a time or a moment or a feeling or an expression or an emotion.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And and recognizing it, isn't it? Yeah. Noticing it, that it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
It's a moment. And because it's so easy just to take stuff for granted.
Absolutely. And sometimes it takes, a terrible event in your life. It sort of gives you some of that clarity sometimes when you've been through the really hard stuff, is to sort of see time and appreciate every moment. I mean, it sounds very cliche, but it is actually true, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think it is. And it just changes you, doesn't it?
It does. I love the quote that you've said somewhere um, about stillness and that quiet moments matter.
Yeah.
I think that is a really beautiful phrase.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's hard to find them often, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You think it's quiet, your mind is going, or your phone's beeping, or so it's
Mm, yeah, and that sort of reflection, time to reflect.
yeah,
Have a breath. Yeah. So from there, you started Pippi in Sydney.
yeah. And but my son Henry, from my first marriage, was still in Wellington with his father, and I guess I just always thought he would come to Sydney. But I mean, I did. I wasn't really thinking. Like I think when Zeus died, I just sort of, I went away somewhere.
Yeah.
But then when I realised that Henry, wasn't going to be able to come full time to Sydney, I pretty quickly came back to New Zealand, and sort of all I really knew how to do was open espresso bars. But I also thought it would be a good chance to finish my law degree. So but I had a restraint of trade because of fuel. I couldn't operate in Wellington. So I went to the Wairarapa and commuted to Wellington to university. But then Henry was at a private preparatory school, so I needed to find a way to pay for the school fees. So I bought a house on the main road in Greytown, and I thought if I just put a small espresso bar out the front, and then we can live there, and that'll pay for the fees, and I can carry on at university. But very quickly, it just took over the whole house. And I thought, Greytown needed a pizza oven, and I loved pizza. And very quickly I had to stop the university because I just, it was all too much. Yeah, so that's how Pipi New Zealand started. So I lived upstairs, and the downstairs, I just put all my furniture in the downstairs and put in a commercial kitchen, and but it
and that became the cafe.
Yeah, a cafe, and we had a big open fire, and it was pretty crazy. I think I was part of the grieving process for me. I just worked.
Yeah.
So Pipi was open from 7 a.m. till whenever at night, and 7 days a week.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So that was the way it helped you to process your grief.
Yeah. And
keeping busy. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, and I guess it is very creative, having business. And I love that side of it. I really love that side of business, and the people. Like I'm quite a shy, I think, by nature, but I really found that I just loved meeting strangers, and the way you talk to them, like you can immediately get into really true, real conversation. You seem to just bypass all the phatic sort of, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's great. You have a really honest relationship with people.
And something about food and coffee is such a sort of fantastic way to connect, isn't it? And then there's that sort of routine about food and coffee where people, keep coming back or come in at the same time every day. And so you start to sort of, it's a great place for developing relationships, I suppose. Yeah.
And it's comforting, isn't it? And nurturing. Yeah. And I mean, coffee's, it's just great. It makes people feel good.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And how did you go from, serving coffee to suddenly, cooking food and managing an entire cafe?
Yeah, well, I guess I'd always loved cooking, and growing up on the farm, we always cooked we had shepherds living in the cottages and then the shearers, so we always had the tins full of baking. And so I had cooked and loved cooking. And when we had I had fuel, we had a little bit of food. Okay. But I guess that had taught me about business and running. And I don't know. We started very simply with Pipi. I'm not a trained chef, so I just cooked. I love food. Good food. I love sort of like finding a recipe that's like duck confit or something that's a traditional recipe and finding its original and just doing the best version of that, rather than, or like an apple crumble, people just loved our apple crumble, and they'd say, this reminds me of my grandmother. It was just the basic Edmonds apple crumble, but without the sort of polenta or ground almonds or
fancy stuff.
Fancy stuff.
Yeah, keeping it simple. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God, I saw on your Instagram talking about apple crumble for breakfast, and I was just like, oh, I want apple crumble now. Like apple crumble with a cup of tea in the morning.
Yeah,
I love sweet food first thing in the morning. It's
the best. Like cake for breakfast. Like a beautiful like vanilla.
Yeah. Cake. Or pavlova, or leftover dessert, or whatever's in the fridge. Whereas my husband, he's like, he'd eat sort of leftover meat and fish and that kind of thing first thing, and I'm just like, I can't do that until way later in the day for some reason.
Yeah.
But apple crumble for breakfast, yeah.
My children, Harry and Louis, went to the Rudolf Steiner schools in Hastings, and they always had, the preschools had apple crumble for lunch.
Really?
Which they loved. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, so good. So Pipi then, went on to do incredibly well, didn't it?
Yeah. So we had it in then I met my third husband, Chris. He was working at the White Swan in Greytown, and we met. And so he came on board when we had my third son, Harry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then someone wanted to buy the building, the Pipi building in Greytown from me, and I guess it just got us thinking about moving or doing something different. And I'd always just thought that Havelock North would be a great place for a Pipi. And so I rang a real estate agent, and sort of like a month later, he rang back and said that the old fish and chip shop was for lease on Joel Road. And it just seemed perfect to me because it was just sort of slightly out of the centre of town, and it was up on a hill a bit. And so we just signed. We didn't, a bit silly, I suppose. We didn't do any council stuff, but we just signed and packed up, and we arrived in Havelock, which my parents were pleased about.
Yeah, I bet. And returning to your roots, which would have felt good.
Yeah.
And so did you closed down Greytown and then started up fresh at Pipi in Havelock? Yeah. Oh, so good. And then that was a long time, wasn't it? That was, was it like 15 years or so that you were there? 18 years. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's gone.
That's incredible. And then was it 2023 you sold Pipi, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, in September. Yeah.
So that must, obviously, we're skipping over a huge amount of your life at that time, but that must have been a huge event to let that go.
I think I often thought that the restaurant became a bit like it's a bit like an installation. So we just painted this 2-storied building pink, and everyone was just hot. Well, not everyone, but a lot of the vocal people were horrified. It's, someone even thought it was going to be a brothel, or they just did. I think they saw
small town New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, we lived upstairs, and I think they saw him wandering around in his underpants, and I thought,
I love it.
But very quickly they embraced it, and Pipi was a great way for me to express how I felt about Zeus, and just I think businesses, everything I did there was a part of my leading up to painting, and when I wasn't painting it, it's business is really creative, and
it is creative, isn't it? I feel like it's creative, and it's all consuming, which can be tough, but I think there's also a good side to that in some way, and you're really putting your heart and soul, if it's something that you're very passionate about, which you obviously were. And I felt the same with my business. I was so passionate about it. In some ways, that passion sometimes made it difficult for me to switch off. And I always used to think, I think now in hindsight, now I've sold it, I'm like, okay, I worked a lot on it. And I was always thinking about it, which I think is probably a necessary ingredient with business. But because I was passionate about it and loved it and loved my business, I always sort of thought that's fine if I work in the evenings on the computer, because I love what I'm doing, which I did. But then I think after a while the balance was a little bit wrong, even though I loved what I was doing. I was thinking too much about work all the time.
Yeah.
And it was consuming my thoughts a lot and affecting my sleep.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, after a while.
Yeah.
So I think, it's just getting the right balance. And for me, I sort of got to the point after 10 years of thinking, okay, I've done this now. I need on to the next project. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel by the end of your time with your business?
Yeah. Well, I think it's really hard to get that balance, isn't it? Especially for good businesses. I think that people really are successful. Yeah, we didn't have any balance.
No.
At all. We we dreamt about pizza, and we didn't. But I think that's how it sort of worked, and and we had another son, so they all just sort of grew up in and around it, and
part of Pipi,
part of it. But
which is
but it
nice.
did, but it probably did have its toll on, like we could never commit to family occasions, or because you never knew what was going to happen, or so I mean, it certainly had its downside. And I think as the boys got older too, in a way, they sort of needed us more than their teenagers. So and we were really lucky to sell it, because I mean it's tough now in hospo, and so we got out at a great time.
Good time to sell. And you mentioned that you met Chris when he worked across the road at the White Swan, and I did read that you were asking for a cup of sugar or something. That was the beginning of the beautiful relationship. So how did you find working with Chris in your own joint venture?
Well, we've got quite different skills, so it was, I think that really contributed to Pipi's success. I as soon as he got involved in Pipi, he suggested that we didn't open all the time. and
that's a good suggestion.
And he's very good at all. His background was hospo, so he was very good at systems and just the day-to-day running, and so in a way I got all the good jobs, and Chris ended up doing all the council compliance, but he ran the Pipi truck that we built later in Hawke's Bay, and that was his thing, and he did really well with that. And I mean, it's hard for any partners in business, but we're still married.
Exactly.
Better than most.
Well.
No, we did work really well as a team.
That's so good. Well done. It's a big achievement. And so I guess now you are painting. I can imagine that there are quite a lot of connections that you feel a lot of connections between cooking and painting. And I think, visually, I remember watching Chef's Table on Netflix. Oh my God.
It's amazing.
And that blew me away, that series. If you haven't seen it, people listening, just check it out, because it was just, it opened my mind to the fact that chefs are like artists, basically, aren't they? But also just people who think about food. There's so many parallels with art making, or with painting especially, but just thinking about composition and balance and what things look like visually on a plate, and how that sort of connects. And I can really see the connections with your work and with hospitality and home and cooking and people and memories and stories and connections and relationships. I feel like it encompasses all of those things. I mean, you'll be able to say that better than me. But I did read another quote, and I actually love the way you write really beautiful things. I mean, you said you wanted to be a writer, but I've noticed on Instagram you're really good at writing down your thoughts in a way that you can tell you've given that some thought, and they're quite powerful little pieces of writing. So you wrote, "People often ask me if I'll keep painting still life, and I never quite know how to answer, because it doesn't really feel like I have much choice in the matter. But it does get me thinking about still life itself, its relevance, and why I find it so compelling."
I haven't really been painting that long, but even sort of after a year or two, people would say, "Well, what are you going to paint next?" And I thought, oh, okay, because it never occurred to me. I just sort of thought there was this insinuation that I should be painting other things.
You'll move on from that.
Move on. Which I mean, I might, if I may. And and I think I think there's so much, and it's the objects, isn't it? And I think the memory, like you said, and that is like the cooking, it's the feelings that they evoke. And I think it's the feeling for me. Like for me, Pipi and Fuel was all about the feel of it. And that's what it's like with, it's I find when I look at certain fruit or vegetables, I'm really drawn to paint them. It's almost like a physical thing.
Yeah.
And it's the same with cooking. I find you can feel it, that. I mean, it makes you feel good cooking. If you like, if you're that way, then and it's very creative. It's creating a scene, isn't it? Creating a moment,
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, the beautiful thing about still life is you're gathering the ingredients, if you like, which is the same as cooking. You're sort of bringing in the elements that you want for whatever reason, whether you're trying to communicate something or create something or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it just seems to fit so perfectly to me. So tell me about how you actually got started painting.
Well, I started having lessons actually from Helen Kerridge in Hastings.
She's going to be on the podcast at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, she's amazing. She's just amazing.
She's amazing.
Yeah. And it was upstairs above Humanity Books, and I'd go every Tuesday. I went for a long time, except when I was writing cookbooks. If I was writing a cookbook, then I didn't have time to do both, but for years. And then I think 1K from Muse Gallery in Havelock saw she asked if I wanted to be in the Affordable Art Show at the gallery, and that was exciting.
Mm-hmm. And when was that? What year was that?
It must have been about 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I think.
And did that surprise you that somebody wanted your work in the gallery?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. And I guess I was so busy with Pipi, it probably, I didn't have as much time to think about it as if that was all I was doing. But so it wasn't my focus, but it was really exciting and great. And I think I did 2 little paintings, and they both sold straight away. So that was that was great. So then she asked me if I wanted to be in a group show, I think. Oh no, in a show with someone else, I think. With Richard, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah, joint show. Yeah.
Yeah, joint show. The next, and that was great because Richard had been the photographer on my second cookbook, so he's an old friend.
And beautiful.
So that was lovely, and
a great way to start. So why? Just going back again. Sorry to interrupt. What made you want to learn to paint and start painting?
Well, I guess it had always been. It was a huge part of my life when I was a child, and it growing up. Like I said, there were artists in our family, and my parents our house was full of art, and I don't know that I always felt like an artist, but it was in me.
Yeah,
I just loved drawing, but I hadn't really done any for years.
And did you just feel like you wanted to sort of scratch that itch kind of thing?
Yeah, no, definitely.
And you felt like you wanted lessons. Were you thinking, I want to make still life, but I just need to learn some things about light or that kind of thing?
No, I guess I just thought it was a great way to start, and great to have lessons to learn how to do it. It would just, rather than me just painting at home, it would be good to, learn how to, not learn how to do it properly, but just, to be taught by someone Helen, and it was amazing because she's got such a great way of teaching. She doesn't, because she always has a lesson for each, a different lesson each time, but I would always she'd let me do my thing. And just learning about the different techniques and paper and brushes and just really, really helpful and encouraging to everyone, all different styles and things. It's very sad she stopped. Well, it's great for her because she's focusing on her own art, but
yes, and
she's greatly missed.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. But how lovely that you had that influence at the beginning. And were you thinking I'm going to stop, working, we're going to sell Pippi and I'm going to become an artist. Was that sort of ever actually in your mind, or did it just kind of start to happen?
Um, no, it just started. Yeah, no, I never thought, no, I didn't start out painting thinking it would become a career. It's something I'd always loved doing. And yeah, so it's all been pretty organic and lovely, really. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it
Yeah.
just sort of tied in nicely with being able to sell Pippi, I suppose, and then giving you a little bit more time and sort of opening up uh,
Yeah.
a bit of space in your life for that kind of work.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Mm.
yeah, no, it is. I've certainly got more time, though. It's amazing how you fill it, isn't it? With,
Yeah.
with other things.
Yes, and you really do seem to fill your time. I mean, you just
Yeah.
seem to be that person. I've just noticed that you have another small,
Oh, yes.
thing on
The
the
lasagna
side.
business. Yeah.
Yes, and my sister and me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your lasagna business at the moment,
Yeah.
which probably you'll have to be really disciplined to not take it further than lasagna, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, we might, but we are going to we want to keep it small.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
good luck with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can just imagine you running with that. Anyway, we'll see. But
Yeah.
hopefully the painting will continue.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah. So you have established yourself in the last sort of 3 to 5 years as an artist who is, really well thought of. You are represented, as you said, at Muse Gallery, but also at Turua Gallery.
Yeah.
And are you with any other galleries around New Zealand?
No, no, just the two. Yeah.
Those two. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's Havelock North and Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. You are working, are you basically as a full-time painter?
Yeah. I suppose so. Like yeah. I yeah, I don't like it if there's a day when I don't paint. Are you like that? I sort of, it
Yeah,
really helps to ground me, I think, and I just want to paint. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I am. I've started this business, my sister and me, with my sister Charlotte, and that's making pre-prepared meals. So I do want, there's other things, but I am painting a lot, and I had an exhibition in May at Muse, where there were 10 paintings in that. So that I was painting, that's me painting full time, probably since November.
wow.
Um,
Yeah,
to do that,
yeah, that's a lot.
it takes me a while to.
Mm.
I am getting faster, but I mean, it's just layering, isn't it? Layers and layers until it,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. So, can we just really delve into your practice in detail? So, obviously, as we've already discussed, your work is all still life at the moment. So, could you describe your acrylic paintings to people who haven't seen them before?
okay. Well, I guess they're mainly either flowers or objects from my kitchen, like bowls. Like, I've always just loved bowls. Especially the ones that are quite high. There's just something about that shape. Or jugs, like the old traditional old. I have this favorite white jug. I think it's a Crownland jug that I just paint over and over again. And they're quite simple, and they're not too close. I suppose I stand back for a bit from them.
Yeah,
I always just set up. I take ages to get the photograph just right. Hundreds of photos, and I live in. We've got quite a big garden. It's not like I'm gardening all the time, but it's a rambly old country garden full of beautiful old roses and flowers. So I spend a lot of time, trying to get the right photo of those. I mean, I love color, so they're always really, yeah, colorful and
you definitely have a style. I mean, I feel like you can pick one of your paintings as yours. there's
Right.
something that you do with still life. And I find it so interesting that still life, a lot of people over the, hundreds of years have made still life paintings. Um,
Yeah.
but then artists still manage to make their own still life sort of something
Yeah.
unique,
Right.
or some artists do. And I think you
Yeah.
do. What do you think you bring to the still life genre?
Maybe it's the objects that or the way I set it up is different. And that's, I guess, just the way I see things or the way I look at things.
Mm,
But yeah,
yeah.
the objects I'll put together, they're not objects that you would normally put together. If you were setting up a beautiful table or something,
Mm,
but just, like a beetroot will look really good with a jar of forget-me-nots, or so.
yeah.
And I think I like that, the way different things that are not normally together sort of create a nice feeling. Or I think that makes the stillness, actually,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. And the stillness of the still life does seem to be a sort of metaphor for something that you think about.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was reading that book by, is it Jennifer Higgy, that The Other Side? Have you read that?
No.
It's about like, I'm not very good with art history and remembering all the artists, but it's about women artists through time who have painted, the spiritual things that, and I thought, well, so they're painting what you can't see and what they're feeling. But I guess for me, that's how I feel about what you can see.
Yeah.
Like a beautiful flower is to me is the sort of the same. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it feels like with your work, it's the flowers or the plants and the objects. And, sometimes it can be fruit and sometimes it's just objects, but it feels like the plants that you choose are saying something to you.
yeah,
And the objects are definitely saying something to you. And I love the way objects take you back to different people or to
yeah,
different generations, or
yeah,
like we were saying before, different places or different memories.
yeah.
So, what are you thinking when you're selecting the plants, and what do they mean to you?
Well, I think it's all that. I think that's really important, isn't it? The memories.
Mm,
And it's often that, like winter sweet. I mean, I love the way everyone relates to that. It was the same, like we had whole flounder on the menu at Pipi, and everyone would, well, not everyone, but most people would just think, oh, and they'd, tell us about how they remembered catching flounder with their grandfather, and it's the same. And winter sweet is that same, does that same thing. And I think that's important, and
yeah.
they're just it's all those, it's, I guess, so it's a lot of the old fashioned flowers and roses. I really, we always, Dad had hundreds of roses in the garden at home, and I love them.
Mm,
And bulbs, this time of year, the bulbs and the winter roses are coming out. I'm just about to start doing one with some winter roses. And yeah, I just love the way it keeps, it goes around and around. But
yeah.
every year is different. You'll see, like this year, I started painting the crab apples for the first time, and they're amazing because when you really start painting them, the yellow, the colors are just incredible. So
And it's so nice that the flower that you choose or the plant that you choose represents that time of the year as
yeah,
well, which then could connect with something that you are doing at that time. Or, I love capturing time through art.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like it's deeply personal.
yeah. I suppose so. Yeah, it is. But that's nice, isn't it? That's what
It's
people
nice.
relate to. I think
Yeah,
must
it's a
be.
good thing.
Yeah,
And you writing on Instagram about your works or about your feelings is a really nice way to kind of communicate with your audience. But do you have other ways of sort of talking about what you're thinking with each work, or are you happy for the audience to respond in their own way?
Yeah, no, not really. That is how I do it. I probably will start a website soon. It's just hard to work out with the cooking and the painting. Do I do separate websites or not? So I'll probably do them together, I think. So it's easier and it's all the same.
It makes sense.
Yeah. No, I I still love writing, and I'm hoping to do another cookbook soon.
Really?
Yeah, or something like that. I'm working with a photographer up here, Florence. Yeah, we're sort of just playing with some ideas, and it'd be nice to incorporate the paintings and everything in the
absolutely. Yeah, it really does make sense to me. It just feels so cohesive.
Yeah.
And and beautiful. And are you just loving painting?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do. Yeah. I I think all artists say this, don't they? I mean, time just goes painting, and yeah, I do. I mean, I never get bored or think this is a hassle.
Hurry up.
It's not work. It's an amazing to be able to do it. It's a real privilege, isn't it, to be able to paint and for people to want your work.
Yes, and it has been so well received, and you don't seem to have any trouble selling your work at all, even though at the moment it's not the best time for artists. You seem to be still selling, no worries.
Well, hopefully, I mean, good. You touch some wood. It is hard right now, but the galleries I'm with are pretty amazing. Seem to be very good at that. Yeah,
that's good. That's great. So let's just very quickly, I want to talk about your books a bit later, so we'll come back to that. But can you just very quickly talk to us about your process? So you mentioned that you take photographs. Do you ever actually just arrange something and draw from life? Or is it always photographs?
I don't. But I often think I should, or I don't like that word should, but I think it's because I want it to stay the same. Well, because it takes me a while.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna change. Yeah. So so it's good to have a photograph.
It's a better record.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are you thinking about actual placement? I mean, you normally seem to have a tabletop of some sort and a wall behind.
Yeah.
What are you thinking when you approach composition?
Well, I guess I'm just trying to find somewhere that's got the best light. So that's the place where I end up. But I want it to be quite plain in the background too. So it's just somewhere, yeah. And but I said it does take me a long time just to get the exact sort of shot that seems to capture what I'm seeing or feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
But then when I've got it, then I get that blown up quite big. And then I just start layering, and it's it just does. It takes a while, I suppose.
Do you draw in the table and where the table is first, and then start with underpainting? Is that how you start?
Yeah. So I draw the table, and then the layer, the burnt sienna, just to get rid of the white, and then then I just start, like, sometimes I'll draw the objects with a pencil, but often just with a brush, and then just keep making them more and more clear or detailed.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, they do seem very perfect. They're very realistic.
Yeah, I'm beginning to. It's hard to get loose. Like, I'd quite like to try and be a bit looser, or stop. Like on the last art trail we had here, I had a painting that was sort of half finished, and it was quite loose, a jug of roses. And, everyone said, that's, they thought it was finished. And and that made me really think, oh, well, if they like that, well, I could.
Yeah.
But
half a job.
Yeah. Yeah. But so, yeah, it'll be, but that's hard. I find that hard.
You'd find it hard to stop there?
Yeah, I think I would. But it'd be quite a good process to go through.
You could always have sort of see that as like a little sub-series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of basically stop before you're ready and see what happens.
Exactly. And then leave it for a while.
Yeah, walk around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it must be so hard to get that exact perfection, of really capturing. I mean, are you working really, really hard to get it exactly as the photo?
No, not so much. Not the image, but just till it feels right. Or I mean, it's got to have enough of it so it looks realistic, and yeah, sometimes I mix them around, or I'll put a different flower in a jug, or that wasn't in the original photo. Yeah.
And then I'm just thinking about how you apply paint. Have you got any particular ways you like to work with the application of paint?
I often wonder what it would have been like to go into art school and learn all that. Maybe one day I will. But I mean, Helen, just what Helen, and it's instinctive, isn't it? Like with mixing colours, and you just do it, really. Don't think about it.
And capturing that light is just such a skill. And your work is your paintings are so beautiful.
Thank you.
Your backgrounds are quite interesting. Have you ever sort of thought about going quite detailed with pattern in the background, or do you think you'll always stick with simple?
Yeah, I have, actually. Like, I love wallpaper. I love those really old French wallpapers and murals. So I have thought about it, and maybe I will, because I love, that's what I love, the patterns on, on the china, like the old mason china, and I think that really adds a layer. It was quite decorative, isn't it? But it's yeah.
And it feels like, I mean, I think I read somewhere that Chris loved your fashion sense when he first met you, and you seem to be a person who enjoys fabrics and clothing and accessories and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
Layering. It's like,
it comes through, and that sort of sense of style and sense of colour, it all comes through your paintings and probably through your cooking.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. It was like, because a lot of my great aunt's painting, that's what they do, because she was the same age as sort of like the Bloomsbury, and that's what they always had, the beautiful piece of fabric underneath the still life, or like a curtain behind, or something.
And I feel like that, people asking you if you're going to do something different, or you're always going to make still life paintings. I feel like it is your thing, still life. I don't know, it would feel sad for you to move away from that in some ways, but then it feels for me like there's so much you can do with that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I've got a whole stack of photos that I've taken that I want to paint. So I have been wondering about landscape, but not the whole painting, like, as a background, and then still life in front.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
Yeah, so I think I might do that.
And I can actually imagine, now you mention it, thinking of landscape almost like a still life in a way, like a fence and a post, exactly. And it's kind of a similar thing, isn't it, in some ways?
Yeah, no, it is.
And you have a group show coming up called Homebody, which is at Turua Gallery in St Heliers in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. You're putting 3 works into that. Can you tell us a little bit about that show?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. So it's I think there's 10 artists, and they've asked us all to paint works that related to the home, which is nice.
Perfect for you.
Yeah, yes. So yeah, I've done 3. One quite big, a metre squared, and then one 700 squared, and then a little one. I was going to be there at the opening, but unfortunately I can't. But it'll be a great show opening tonight.
Yeah, it'll be a great show. I'm hoping to. Well, I'm planning on getting there tonight.
Right.
So that started on the 18th of July. So by the time this recording goes out, it will be on. Yeah, on for 2 weeks, I think, from the 18th of July, 2025. So that will be worth seeing, and it'll be lovely to see your work up close in person. And just talking about your book, so you did mention that you have written 3 cookbooks, and you've also written a children's fiction book.
Yeah.
And that fiction book was released, I think, in 2016, called If I Was a Banana.
Yeah.
And I actually watched a video of you reading it, which I completely fell in love with the book and with you. I just thought, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I love the way you read it. And the story is absolutely gorgeous. I want to buy a copy for my grandsons. It's such a great book. Where did that come from in amongst all this busy cooking and running a business and all the rest? How did that come about?
Well, I think, as I said, I'd always wanted to write. And at university, I did write poetry. And when I was in Dunedin, it was great because Cilla McQueen was there and Honi Tufori and Roger Hall, and I met them all. And I got to know Honi quite well, which was amazing. And so then it had always just been there. And I don't know, I just started writing that. And then I'd always heard about Gecko Press in Wellington, Julia Marshall's publishing company. So I sent it to her one Friday. And and I'll never forget when I finished at Pipi that night. I came back and there was a text saying, yeah, we love it. We want to publish it. And I was just
really,
that was just amazing. So
wow.
And that was such a fun process with it was really interesting learning about how they put a children's book together. You know, the illustrator and I were really, Ryan, we were really closely involved with how they did it. It was a bit hard in a way, letting go of control of the illustrations, but they sort of explained how it's great to have, it adds another layer to the story if the illustrator is allowed to bring in their interpretation, which makes a lot of sense.
It does make sense, but I can imagine, I get what you're saying. It would be quite hard sometimes if it's not what you had in your head when you were writing.
Yeah, I remember I got just the way he'd drawn the eyes on a whale. You know, he looked quite fierce, and the ladybug, I'd always thought of ladybugs as being quite, you know, gentle and lovely, and his is quite ferocious. And but it's good because it makes it a bigger story, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you feel like you will write some more children's fiction? And also another question, do you feel like you would ever like to illustrate your own stories?
Yes, I'd love to write more children's fiction. And I have got a few that I've almost finished, and we'll see what happens with those. But I have thought about illustrating them, but Helen illustrated a children's book when she was teaching me, and it's just such a business, you know, like it's I wouldn't have had time in the past, and I don't know, I feel like that's sort of not the way how I do art. I just and it's sort of nice having someone else to do. My third cookbook was illustrated because it's a children's cookbook. Giselle, the illustrator, is amazing.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't realize that. So is that Egg and Spoon?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah. And she's been taught, just it's sort of a whole different thing, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not that great on the computer, with computer design. And so, but yeah, maybe that's what, when I was a child, I made books a lot, like fairy stories, and I would make I'd do the drawing, and I'd write.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And maybe you could do that for your grandchildren one day.
Yeah.
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 But that's so beautiful. And I think it's really great, isn't it, that you have dyslexia and you've managed to, not let that affect your love of writing.
Yeah. I think it's different now, isn't it? Like I think I'm like it's spelling for me. Everyone has dyslexia differently, but I think it also really is the way you think about things, sentences and stuff. I did have trouble at university. Every time I went to a new university, I'd never tell them, and then they'd get me into their office and get me in front of a psychiatrist, and we'd have a test. I did have one classics professor who'd been through Oxford, and he couldn't. He said, "I just don't understand this country, the way they'll let people into universities who can't spell." And he made me read this whole assignment. I just wrote phonetically, and he made me read the whole thing to him. I don't know. It's just that was traumatic. But
yeah, that's quite awful. But now with computers, I guess, and
exactly.
Chat GPT, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah,
in the future. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, to me, you just seem such a powerhouse and such a proactive, incredible, inspiring doer. I can't believe what you've achieved actually in your life. And I feel like the next 20 years is going to be a whole other list of incredible achievements.
Hopefully.
So thank you for inspiring us. Now let's get on to the questions. What would you say being an artist has taught you about life?
I think well, just to stop and look at things. And it's taught me to really just take notice and observe. My youngest son Louis is really good at that. We'll be going for a walk, and or driving along, and he'll just sort of point stuff out that, it's not. It's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah. And you've probably modeled that without realizing. And what would you say is one of the most significant moments in your artistic career?
Well, I guess it's two things. Learning from Helen was pretty significant, and then when Kay from Muse asked me to be in that first exhibition, that was a real turning point.
Yeah, quite a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give your younger artistic self or somebody else starting their creative career?
I guess it's good to have confidence to ask for help when you need it. I think the art world can be quite daunting, and when like me, you're not a trained artist, and I haven't been doing it that long, and you sort of feel everyone else knows a lot more than so it's good to just ask. There's a lot to learn. Every time I talk to different artists, I learn a lot about different, getting into different galleries. Or Josh Lancaster, I often, I've rung him, and he's great. And Helen, I still ring Helen all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think artists are incredibly supportive, especially, I don't know if it's just New Zealand, probably everywhere, but you can make connections and build relationships with other artists, and it's so sort of collegial and supportive, and you can learn so much. And even just going to people's studios and having a bit of a chat, I think is so invaluable. It's something that probably we all should do more often.
Yeah, no, definitely, because it's quite isolating, isn't it? You're on your own studio, and you just so it is really good to talk to artists.
And what inspires you to make the work you make? What or who?
Who? Yeah, I think I've always really loved the Bloomsbury group and that generation, the writers like Virginia Woolf and Catherine Mansfield and Rupert Brooke, and poets, and just I like that was sort of my grandparents' generation, and I just think I always remember they were sort of so stylish with their I don't know, cigarette cases and things that we're not allowed now. But they're just
and beautiful lighters.
yes, and their crocodile handbags.
Yeah,
It just
so glamorous.
yeah, I don't know. It just maybe not so much my paint, but it has. Yeah, just different. That period in history has had big impact on me.
And what would you say is a challenging aspect of being an artist?
I think it is that being on your own, isn't it? A lot, and often, So and if you don't talk to other people and just sort of keeping well, it's not hard to keep inspired because you love painting, it's what you do, but just it's good to talk to other people because you are on a lot.
Especially coming from the hospitality
area.
Maybe
I probably notice it more. And
you do, it seems like you have been missing cooking. Do you think that's why you're starting a new business with your sister?
I do miss cooking and the whole social side and business. Actually, I really I miss business. I think it's fun.
It's a good challenge, isn't it?
Maybe that it is a good challenge, especially now. Like it's and just making food that people make want to eat. It's good.
And feeding people is such a nurturing thing, isn't it?
It
makes
is.
You feel good to kind of make them feel good and to nourish them. And you're nourishing people with your paintings as well. I love the synergy between all the things that you've done in your life and the way the paintings, it's almost like they're painting pictures of what you've done in your life and the people before you and the people alongside you, which is so personal and beautiful. And I think that you're giving the viewer that stillness, that opportunity to be still as well.
I hope so. It's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much, Alexandra. It's been beautiful to meet you. Yeah, it's been really fun to chat. Thank you very much for coming on to Creative Connections.
No problem.